My name is Vilma and I am a knitter from Finland, and on my channel I share my knitting progress and what I have been knitting on for the past 2 weeks. This time I have quite many works to share. I don't have any finished objects this time, but yes, I have quite many whips. To start with, I want to mention the hand knit that I'm wearing, which is this cardigan. It is the Aamuyö cardigan by Pauliina Leisti, and I knit mine with Isayer silk mohair in a beige color and with a white alpaca as the second yarn, which creates this really lovely two-toned look, though of course you could also knit it with a matching silk mohair and alpaca. And I have really been enjoying wearing this cardigan lately. It has been really cold here where I live, so I like wearing it with a turtleneck underneath and using it as a layering piece, because it has these, I think, what are they called? 3/4 sleeves, so a bit shorter, and I think it looks really cute. I really like it. And also, of course, this way, if you are more sensitive to mohair, I mean, having a turtleneck underneath makes it still wearable. I think I'm not really sensitive to mohair, but I really enjoy the extra warmth that it gives. Okay, I like to start off with my oldest whip, and that would be the Keris Slipover by Mary Wallin. It is featured in Mary Wallin's Cumbria book, and let me show a picture from the book, how the finished object looks like. There, this is my favorite picture that I always like to show. And the Keris Slipover uses Mary Wallin's British Breeds yarn. I also used that yarn for my version, and I believe you use maybe 14 different colors. Actually, since I have the book right here, let me check how many colors. 1, 2, yes, 14 different colors, and I am knitting mine in the size S, which is the smallest size. So my Keris Slipover is looking like this. So I have finished the back panel. I placed this stitch marker 2 weeks ago, so you can see that I was really close to the shoulder shaping already. And then I just left the middle stitches on a piece of yarn so that I can pick them up for the neckband. And yes, like I mentioned, I'm knitting it in the British Breeds yarns, but I did substitute one color, which is the dark purple here. In Mary Wallin's design, it is the color Mallard, which is a blue-green, and I didn't have it, so I just used Mulberry, which is a dark purple. But otherwise I have used all of the suggested colors, because Mary Wallin is known for her really good eye for color, so I do trust her judgment. And what else? Yes, I knit this on 3mm needles, whereas in the pattern it is suggested 3 1/4. so 3.25 millimeter needles. And because of that, my gauge was a bit tighter, and to make up for that, I knit this with 10 extra stitches, which really didn't affect the design much. Of course, I had to check, for example, with the armhole decreases, I had to check that the measurements would line up, but I really didn't have any problems with that. As you can see, the carry slipover is knit flat and then seamed together. And this is my first project knitting Fair Isle in the flat. And I have to say that I do like it. I find it pretty relaxing because it kind of forces me to work a bit slower. But the difficulty is definitely that on the purl side, so this is the purl side, what it looks like, I can't really see what I'm supposed to do, and I can't see the previous round, so I definitely had to rely on the chart a lot on this side. And you can also see I have so many ends that I have to weave in at some point. I am dreading that a little bit, I have to admit. Because usually when I knit stranded collar work, I like to weave in the ends as I go, but I hate weaving ends on the purl side, so I didn't weave them in. I would only weave them in if I had to change a color while I was knitting the right side. So yeah, I have a lot of ends to weave in, and because of that I also haven't blocked it yet, because I prefer to weave in the ends before I block a garment. And yeah, also because it's knit flat and then seamed together when you have all of the pieces, I really do appreciate the structure that gives, but of course the downside is that I can't really try this on right now, and I'm just kind of hoping, as I'm seeing how it looks on me, hoping that it's going to fit nicely, but I really will only see when I also have the front piece finished and seamed together. So at that point, if the fit isn't great, I might cry. But let's hope. It should fit nicely, it looks good. Yeah, I feel good about this project. And yeah, I haven't started the front piece yet, because as you will see, I have been working on quite many different projects. Then the next project, another garment, is my Tampere sweater by Anna Strandberg. This one I am knitting in the size 2, and I am using Jamieson and Smith Shetland wool in the shade Optic White. And ta-da! I have finished the body of this sweater. So, because last time I was kind of struggling to capture this sweater because of the light, I figured that I would try a different angle this time, so I can just show the body of the sweater flat. You can also see my woolly socks. And here is the stitch marker that I placed 2 weeks ago. You can see it's a very cute, it's a little cat in a coffee cup. This is actually my only like fancy stitch marker that I have. So you can see that basically after my last video, in 2 weeks, I finished the pattern, the remaining part of the pattern for the body. In the pattern, it doesn't really tell you when you have to stop knitting. It just gives you the advice of that the ribbing is going to be about 10 to 12 centimeters. So you should stop knitting the body like when when you have reached the length that you then add 10 centimeters to, and then it's the length that you want. I feel like I'm explaining it in the worst way possible, but maybe you understand what I mean. I have to say, knitting the ribbing felt like never ending. It felt pretty tedious. And then you bind off with a tubular bind off. This was my first time knitting a tubular bind off. I have knit an Italian bind off before. So it was a bit different. Honestly, I don't really know what's the benefit of doing a tubular versus an Italian bind off. I just felt like this was a bit more work than an Italian bind off, but I don't know if I had any benefit from that work. Let me know if you know if there is some benefit or difference between the two techniques. And now you can also pretty well see here, this was my mistake, because here earlier, this is where I had the beginning of round, so that's why it looks a bit rough. But when we zoom out a bit, I'm really not that bothered by it. I mean, you can notice it, but it doesn't look bad to me. So yeah, that's what the body looks like at the moment. I haven't blocked it. I'm going to block it once the entire garment is finished. So yeah, that is my Tampere sweater, how it's looking like at this point. Then the next project is my sock project. It is the 24H Avec socks by Niina Laitinen, and I have finished one sock. This sock, I think it comes in 2 sizes. Now I'm not sure if I remember. I think it comes in sizes 36 and 38 EU shoe size. I'm knitting the 38, and I am knitting it with this old Seitsemän veljestä skein by Novita. So it's about an Aran weight yarn, and I have been knitting the sock on 3mm or no, 3.5mm needles, and I have finished one sock. You can see there is the stitch marker that I put in last time. So yeah, I pretty much had the end to do. Now I'm once again realizing I don't remember the sock terminology in English. Like what is this part of sock called? I do knit quite a lot of patterns in English, but for some reason I have only ever knit socks in Finnish. So yeah, I don't remember what. Is this just called the foot? Let me know. Maybe I will check that out before my next video. But yeah, so here is this sock, and as you can see, it doesn't have any ribbing because you make a texture using knit and pearls, and it creates quite a stretchy fabric. So you don't really need ribbing up here because this whole part is going to have that stretch that ribbing would give you. And it fits really nicely. And yeah, I don't really know what else you can say about a sock, but I am pretty happy with this one. Then at this point I would usually have my crochet update, but this time I haven't done any crochet, and the reason is that I have 3 new cast-ons. And the reason for my so many cast-ons is that I started gift knitting for Christmas. This year I am mainly gift knitting for my family, so my parents, and I also wanted to make one gift that I would donate to a Christmas charity. So let's move on to my gift knitting new cast-ons and works in progress. The first one is a hat for my mom, and at its current stage it looks like this, but I can try it on to demonstrate the fit a bit better. So just turning the brim, double, and there. So this hat I'm knitting with 2 different yarns. I'm using Puno by Gepard Garn and this really fluffy, fuzzy yarn. Actually, let me check, I have the label over here. It is the Fashion Light Luxury Hand Dyed by Rico Design. And the pattern that I'm knitting the hat with is called Koli or Koli-pipo, and it's a pattern that I got for free when I purchased the yarns for this hat at my local yarn store. But actually I do have a bit of I don't know, complaint about the pattern. I mean, it's a free pattern that you get from the yarn shop, but in my opinion the pattern has a pretty fatal mistake. The pattern itself, like the instructions, are fine, but for the materials it says 1 ball of the Rico Designs yarn and 1 ball of the Puno yarn, and I have the same gauge that the pattern calls for, and I ran out of the Puno yarn. I got the 1 ball, 50 grams, as instructed, but as you can see, it was not enough to finish this hat. So next week I think I'm going to go there again and buy another ball of yarn, and I will definitely tell them that even though I did everything as instructed, I I did not have enough yarn for one hat. So that's a bit of a bummer. I mean, definitely if the pattern says that you need 2 balls of yarn, I expect that I don't have to buy any more than that. And for this one I'm using 7mm needles because the yarns together are pretty chunky. But the fabric is really soft. This is actually the first object that I have ever knit for my mom, and so I'm not exactly sure how sensitive her skin is to wool yarns. So I wanted to go with something really soft to be on the safe side. And I do also want to mention the reason why I have never knit anything for my mom is because she has knitting friends who knit so many beautiful socks for her. So I always felt like, well, maybe she doesn't really need my my knits. But this year I am making a hat for her. And well, one more thing I want to mention about the color, because I chose the Rico Designs yarn in this pastel color and the Puno yarn in a lime green color, because that is one of my mom's favorite colors. In this light, I'm not sure if the green really comes across. It might look a bit yellow, but it is a lime green. So I am confident that she will like the color. So that was my first gift knit. The second one is for my dad, and my dad is one of the most knit-worthy people that I know, because I have knit for him a hat and a pair of socks. The pair of socks he has used so much, like they already have holes in them and he still keeps using them. Like every time I visit my parents in the autumn and in winter, he's always wearing them. And I also made him a hat, which unfortunately was too small, but he still wore it. I couldn't believe it that, yeah, he still wanted to wear it because he was just so grateful that I made it for him. So that being said, I started on a new pair of socks for him to... My plan is that I can give these socks and then I can take the old pair that now has holes in them and then I can mend the holes. And then he will have 2 pairs of socks that I have knit. So these socks, I am using just a free pattern from Novita. I think it's just called like joustinneule-sukat. Joustinneule-villasukat. So like ribbing socks. I'm linking the pattern in the description box. So like I said, it's a free pattern, you can check it out. Even if you don't speak Finnish, you can easily just copy all of the text and pop it into a translator. So the first sock looks like this. And once I was done with the ribbing, so from here I would start the heel flap, I decided to put these away and start the ribbing for the second sock, which is looking like this at the moment. I am knitting this on 3mm needles, and the yarn is this beautiful hand-dyed sock yarn by Termari, so a Finnish yarn dyer. I don't think the colorway has a name. It might have a number, but I cannot remember that. And this is, I think this is a DK weight yarn. It's a sock yarn, so I think it was around 70-75% wool, and then 20-25% nylon. And yeah, once again, I'm not really sure what else I could say about a sock. Well, one more thing about the free pattern actually. The reason I picked it was because it comes in a pretty nice variety of sizes. I think it only has 3 sizes, but the range is pretty good. So yeah, you could make a pair of pretty big, like, men's socks, and then also a smaller women's sock with that pattern. So yeah, those are my sock ribbings for now. Then the last new cast on and whip, like I mentioned, is a well, I didn't mention that it's a hat, but it's a hat that I want to donate to a Christmas charity. So once again, a lot of ribbing going on in my projects. This is going to be like a simple watch cap, so I'm doing a lot of ribbing that I can then just turn around to make the brim. And the reason I wanted to knit this was because I read this article recently that was about like a Christmas charity for children from low-income families, and it was written that particularly older kids, like from the ages of 11 to 18, get way less gifts than smaller kids. So I'm basically doing a hat for like a teenager. The color maybe for a teenage boy, but maybe for a girl also who likes green, but just, yeah, for some bigger child. That is my goal, and I am knitting it with this is Cascade 220. I think the color is called Chives. This is leftover from my Siskonpaita sweater by Neulosisko. So I can put a picture on the screen of what the sweater looks like, and maybe also you can get a better idea of the color that I'm knitting with. So yeah, this is also going pretty smoothly. I'm knitting it with 5mm needles, and the pattern is actually from a pretty vintage book by Vogue Knitting. This book came out in 1999. It's my grandmother's old book of caps and hats, and this is what the watch cap looks like. I have actually knit this watch cap pattern 3 times before, because I think it's a really good basic hat pattern that fits a lot of people, and yeah, it's just pretty quick and fun to knit. So those were all of my whips this time. I feel like for me it's a bit much, and definitely right now I am focusing more on the gift knits because they have a deadline, and yeah, I feel pretty confident that I can finish everything before Christmas. Maybe I will even start a fourth Christmas project. And then once I have once I have finished those, I will move back into my regular projects. And I do also have a couple of acquisitions that I want to share. Well, the first one, of course, was the sock yarn that I'm using for my dad's socks. I got this one at a Christmas market that I visited with my friends last weekend. And yes, obviously they are already assigned to a project. Then, well, also the hat yarns were new. Those were actually the Puno yarn was on sale around Black Friday, and the Rico Designs yarn was not on sale, but I got it for the hat anyway. Then some more yarn that I got on Black Friday. I got 4 hanks. Four hanks of the, not sure if I know how to pronounce this, the Hjellholtz Uldspinderi Håndverksgarn. I don't speak any Danish, but I'm sure you're probably familiar with this yarn. And I got it in this light gray color. So here are all 4 skeins or hanks, and my idea is that I want to knit the Soe sweater by Anna Strandberg with these. The sweater was already in my autumn knitting plans, but at the time I didn't have the yarn for it. So now I do. This should be a sweater quantity of yarn. It is a more rustic yarn, but yeah, for me this doesn't feel itchy or scratchy at all. Really looking forward to knitting with this. Then the last thing that I want to mention quickly is that I also got my Line magazine for the winter number. I'm sorry, I'm so Christmas minded right now. This is the winter number, number 23, and I have to say, looking through it, I am really excited about this one. So if I have the time, I would like to make a dedicated video kinda looking through this magazine, so I won't talk about it too much in this video. So that is everything for this time. Personally, I feel like this was quite a lot. Normally I wouldn't like to have this many whips going at the same time, but December is a bit of a special time, so I'm trying to just take it easy, not feel overwhelmed, not feel stressed about anything, and yeah, just knitting as I like. I would be really excited to hear what you are working on right now. Are you making any gift knits? What is your opinion about gift knits? Lately I have seen some videos on YouTube about opinions on gift knitting, and I do think that it's a really interesting topic. And people have really nice different opinions about gift knitting, which I find really interesting. But that's everything from me this time. I hope you have a wonderful day and see you next time. Bye!